Good evening, everyone. Treasure Troller here from the partially mask-wearing militant state of Michigan, where we have a dictator as governor for 4 more years. So this is going to be my first impressions of the election. Just kind of first thoughts off kind of the top of my head. Not looking too deep into it. First thing is, usually, it's a midterm it was a midterm election. In most midterm elections, there is some sort of retribution on the party that wins the presidential election. And I think that did happen. Now, a lot of people were predicting a red wave. I wasn't completely into that theory, mostly because, and I've said before, a lot of the issues that are each states right now face are more national issues. Immigration, inflation. It's hard to pin the immunity enhancement program on a governor. A lot of them are national issues. So I think that played a lot into why it didn't go overwhelmingly red. The next thing is, I did a vlog, I think it was at Political Dissonance last week. I think it was in that one where they were talking about how, well, people want, like Democratic voters or whatever, they want to move to the left. They're just not as fast. Just not as fast as what these people on the left want. They have to do it slower. So we'll see if that sort of plays out, where they want to try to move things to the left, but they're going to be slower about it. This certainly wasn't a total mandate against Republicans in this election. They just didn't win as much as they had hoped they would. And they're just, I think, Michigan is just a sad situation. I think we're right in there with New York and Pennsylvania, probably, California and Illinois, where it's basically a vote Democrat. That's it. Plain and simple. They've ran Detroit for I don't know how many freaking years, and that's a shithole. But they're just going to vote Democrat. That's just all there is to it. I think the gerrymandering that they did, dividing up the new districts, helped as well. But I don't necessarily want to talk Michigan specifically, but I have to base a lot of my impressions, based on the election here. I don't think it was a real good or bad day for anybody. I do believe, though, when the Democrats, I guess, either come down from the near miss that they had, or their elation in the results from this election, they're going to have to face the cold hard reality of the Biden platform, which is just nothing. And it's just a lot of inflation, a lot of empty shelves, a lot of immigration problems, We had one up in Mason County where a group of illegals came in and basically robbed the area of with false paychecks for $250,000. And they robbed the businesses that are supporting the immigrant seasonal workers. I just think about the Pelosi comment about, send them to Florida because they need people to pick the fruit. Well, then they do that, but then a band of these reprobates go down there and they start figuring out when payday is, and they get a hold of what a check looks like, and they have their fake documents, which to me is the bigger problem, that they're actually getting these fake passports and fake IDs. And then they base it on the farm or the produce company that these seasonal workers are working at, and then they cash them at the banks that these seasonal workers are at, or if there's businesses that support these migrant workers, they go in there and they hit them with these rubber checks, and they pick on the most vulnerable, which is their own. So I think the next 2 years are going to be very difficult for the Democrats, or you're going to see a lot of them be much more moderate. So I guess expect to see huge changes being made. I've said in that other video that same one where I think the 2024 election is going to be much more difficult for both parties. I think this election makes it a little bit harder on the Democrats. I really do, because now they can't talk about how Republicans are stonewalling the agenda, how they're making life miserable, how things would be so much better if Democrats were, had the House and Senate, or so much more would get done. They can't use that as an excuse. The horrible economy is going to play heavy on them. So in some respects, I think it's going to, in the end, be easier for Republicans. But initially, not happy with the results. A lot of it was expected. The witches of Eastwick win re-election. The dictator Whitmer, Sleestak, Nessel, and the Secretary of State and Propaganda, Joycelyn Benson in Michigan. I think initially it's a bad look. For Republicans, that they kind of don't have their shit together. But I think in the end it's going to work out. In the long run, or the next 2 years, I think it's going to produce a lot better outcomes. So this is Treasure Troller saying aloha and good day.